People who are good at love bombing don't actually love you. They love your human need to be loved. They target your need for validation because that's the part of you they can control. When someone who is less than honorable senses that your self-worth depends on their approval, it's like handing them the remote control to your emotions. They can pull away, guilt you, breadcrumb you, and you'll chase them every time, thinking you're fixing the relationship when you're actually feeding their ego. Manipulators who love bomb show up as the perfect mate in order to get into a relationship, and then they isolate you and confuse you with their unpredictable mood swings. These end up being wildly destructive relationships, and I'm sorry if this has ever happened to you. It's happened to me too. Hello friends, my name is Maria, and for almost 20 years I mistook manipulation for connection. If I was dating someone who had love bombed me and they began to pull away, I believed if I just gave more, proved myself more, or waited longer, they would finally see my worth. But what I didn't realize is that I wasn't in a loving relationship. I was being used by people who knew exactly how to exploit my insecurities so I would always be there for them. That is until the day I sat down, painted my nails, and decided it was time to change everything. So if you're ready to learn how to spot this pattern before it starts and how to take back your validation from people who never deserved that power in the first place, then grab a bottle of nail polish and let's talk. People avoid intimacy in all kinds of ways, like in the form of using love bombing to have ultimate control in their relationships. They want a relationship that is only convenient for them. There's one thing I've learned from patterns that I've witnessed in my own personal relationships about the worst kind of people. I have learned that if I wanted someone who was convenient for me, if I was really looking to pin someone right where I wanted them, I would target somebody who is coming off like they believe, whether it's true or not. They wholeheartedly believe that if they don't have me, they've got nowhere to go. That's how you control people. That's how you love bomb and breadcrumb people and get away with it. And unfortunately, whether you realize it or not, and probably not, you do give off things about yourself that tell other people how far they can get with you when it comes to how you can benefit them. It's not your fault. These are behaviors you've adopted from experiences that you've had. Like, one way you can always tell about how people feel about themselves is they're always apologizing for bothering other people when it's completely unnecessary. And I'm sure this is because when you were growing up, you were probably made to feel like a nuisance. If only you didn't have so many needs. If only you could just play in a corner and be quiet. And this is how you get people that feel like even when they're doing something as simple as sending an email or something as completely normal as sending a text, they always start with, "I'm sorry to bother you." They always feel sorry for wasting the other person's precious time when, let's face it, the other person is probably just doom scrolling or binge watching Netflix. Love bombers, or let's say people who lie in order to trap someone in a specific relationship dynamic, whatever that may be. These people do not have honorable intentions. Deep down, they might not even think they're good enough for you, but here's the problem. The first time you let them get away with treating you like crap, they realize, oh, you don't believe that you're good enough to find someone better. When you accept terrible behavior from people and you stick around, they know they have you. They know you now value their presence over your feelings. And then they test that theory by pushing another boundary with you. And if you let them walk all over you, it's over. Good luck getting anything you want, including respect, out of that relationship. You know, the day that I sat down to paint my nails and I started going over a lot of the mistakes that I made in dating, like a lot of my unhealthy dating patterns, the instances where love bombers first revealed their true dark colors and I didn't stand up for my value, those are the moments that stick out the most in my mind, because I could do better than them. And more secure people would see love bombing and controlling as a huge red flag. But because of past experiences, we get confused. I was confused, we don't say anything. And I stayed quiet. And when they finally began to pull out of the relationship completely, like maybe leave me for something else or someone else shiny and new, I begged them to stay in my life. I agreed to be downgraded to friends with benefits. I wanted to feel any piece of that love-bombing dopamine from the very beginning, and I felt desperate for it. And these people will notice your desperation, and maybe they'll stick around for a while, as long as they feel like it. Then they're out. They don't care what it's doing to you because they had their sights set on using you from jump. Love bombers are people, and people have a lot of great qualities. They could have a great sense of humor, an artistic edge, maybe they're a really good dancer. I know we talk a lot about anxious and avoidant attachment on this channel, but regardless of attachment styles, people can have a lot of wonderful, beautiful qualities. There is a reason you fall in love with them, and while no one is perfect, there are some people out there who have some real deal breakers when it comes to boundaries that you put in place for yourself. And a big part of my problem, the reason why I was so vulnerable to a lot of this, is because at that time in my life, I didn't know anything about boundaries. And I was more focused on wanting someone to love me and wanting to love someone else before I even learned how to love myself. So no matter how gross the relationships got, of course I needed them to work. I've already given him everything, and without him, I felt like I had nothing. We fall victim to love bombing when we over-invest in people we don't really know, who are only saying wonderful words. And it's hard for me to read comments online of people that they say things like, "Oh, we had 3 fantastic dates. I can't believe they ghosted me." You have no idea who this person is after 3 dates, or 3 weeks, or even 3 months. And I'm not trying to tell you to be pessimistic or skeptical of everybody. What I am saying is some people will recognize beautiful things in you, and they'll feel lucky, and they'll say, "Oh, what luck. What can I do to keep this person around?" Because they genuinely want to be in your life. But there are also some people who will recognize how loving and valuable you are, and they will take advantage of it. They'll want to possess it. And for the ladies out there, I'm not saying you have to wait a year before you sleep with a man. That's up to you. But when a man is serious about you, he's going to start treating you like he's serious about you before he ever even sleeps with you. He's not just going to tell you how beautiful and amazing you are. He's going to back it up. When I first started talking to my now partner, very early on in our relationship, his car broke down at work, and I offered to give him a ride home. And this was very early. I had met him through friends, and I'd gotten good vibes, but I really didn't know him. So when I picked him up, he said thank you. But as we were driving, he asked me to pull into the nearest gas station. And then without a word, he got out of my vehicle and filled up my gas tank. This action was quiet. It wasn't grand, but it was centered and reciprocal. It was good. I'm sure like you, I've certainly had men offer grander things to me than a tank of gas for my troubles, but when the rubber hit the road, it was all talk. These people promise you the rosiest future, and then they can't even bother to really show up for you on a holiday or your birthday. Even if they're present, they are not there. The best signals of someone's character are not necessarily the most romantic. They really do show up as the small things, and then they actually show up. People get confused and they think these kinds of relationships are boring. But you have the power to design your life in a way that no matter who is in it, it's not going to be boring. And it sure is nice to have someone who doesn't constantly disappoint you along for the ride. I have reached a point where I understand now. I would much rather have the small, consistent, thoughtful things than the big, sweeping, dopamine-fueled love bombing that is shallow and disappears the moment they've gotten whatever it is they need from you or the moment you actually need something from them. Try to remember that love bombing is grand, future-faking gestures, gifts, compliments coming out of the mouth of someone who doesn't know you that well. It's disproportionate. They act perfect, but it doesn't really track because no one is perfect. Real love involves two imperfect people who have disagreements. It doesn't always require the other person to constantly have to tell you they love you to soothe your insecurities, because their secure actions tell you that they love you. Real love doesn't need to force labels because they're already performing the actions that prove to you exactly how they're going to show up for you and what their intentions are with you, and the label will come naturally. Everyone is particularly susceptible to love bombing when life is a little gray. If you can't get through any aspect of your life without complaining of unsatisfaction, that is the immediate crisis that needs to be addressed. Dating will not solve your problems. In fact, it may exacerbate them, because I believe on a certain level, we meet people right where we are. You're unhappy with your life. Well, I got news for you. People who are okay with love bombing people to use them for their own sick reasons, they are not happy either. Your specific problems might be different from theirs, but it's the state of unfulfillment. That's what brings you together and attracts you to each other. Welcome to the other half, where we know attraction is not just about looks. We also need to take care of the inner half. Because good looks won't save you from someone who has trapped you and is now mind-effing you and warping your self-image. Now you're convinced you're not desirable, which makes you even more desirable to someone who wants to get away with mistreating their partner. Some of the most horrendous relationships I've ever witnessed growing up, and even now, are instances where it's clear that one person knows that the other person feels like they have nowhere to go. This is the best they can do. If you would like to get relationship clarity or my personal encouragement on your mission to go no contact with your ex, I will put my personal phone session information in the description below. Life is up and down, and it is so important that we maintain our self-respect and continue to be centered in ourselves. And that way, no matter what is going on around us, we don't become so vulnerable to people who can prey on our insecurities. They target us because we've gotten a scarcity mindset that shows up unconsciously on dates and accidentally gives them a signal that we are okay with accepting half of the love we truly want in a relationship. It will feel so good to be love bombed if you have felt bored with your life or overlooked for a long time. And if you know someone who struggles with attraction to avoidant half love or limerence-fueled situationships, please share this video and subscribe so more beautiful people like you can know they are not as invisible as they feel. If you want to protect yourself from love bombing, here are two ways. You get busy building a life you enjoy with or without someone. And the second way, the next time you meet someone, maybe you've gone on one date or a few dates. You know, they're talking to you and saying all these things. Take a brief moment to check in with yourself and ask yourself, are the compliments, the future promises, the gifts, are they proportionate to how much they actually know about you? You know, after all these years, I think there is one statement that sounds super love bomby, but I'm pretty sure it's genuine. And that's when a man is talking about a woman and he says, "Ugh, she was the most beautiful woman I'd ever met." And yeah, he's talking about her looks, but he's talking about her as a whole. And even though it sounds fantastical, I've heard enough men say it who were truly in love to believe it's a statement you can trust. But hey, that's just my opinion, and if you disagree, let's take it to the comments. Let's have a little back and forth. Let's get digital. I'll put a video that explains how to create your own naturally attractive texting patterns without using games or love bombing right here. My name is Maria Adrianna. You did not have to live my life, but I certainly hope you can learn something from it. As always, thank you for visiting the other half.